Hello, welcome to another episode of Aaron Plays. We're into the last two turns of scenario 8 Metal Rains. The Soviets being played by the AI, myself playing as the West Germans. The West Germans have effectively 2 units remaining. The Soviets a fair few more, but they're looking a little bit disrupted, reduced. They've taken objective A. Objective B is their next drive. Okay, I will now draw the first card. End of operations. This could be a short turn. Battlefield friction. Okay, last time we had this, we had the weather. Let's see what we actually. The battlefield events first, rather than friction. Battlefield events. It's a 4, which is the weather again. Okay. All right. So the weather table. Roll 2d6. That's a 6. Okay, it says goes back to level 0. So it rained effectively for about 15-20 minutes, and then it's gone. Okay, move that to there. Remove this counter from the board. It didn't have overly long effect in the game. Oh, unless it comes back, of course. All right. Next card. And yes, that can happen. Turn 7 was effectively a non-event. Everyone hunkering down because of the rain. Whatever way you can look at the narrative, I'm a lull. But that means everyone's available next turn. Technically, I should remove. But not technically about it, I will remove both HQs. Okay, one of the slight problems with Vassal, or it might be my computer the way I use it. So all right. So there's the end of operations card. Okay, there's the German HQ. Not sure where the Soviet HQ is underneath it. Okay, there they are. So they settle for that card. These go back, return to the formation deck. Okay, we now move the turn on to turn 8. So the last turn. Okay. First card drawn is the Germans. So nothing to clear up. HQ comes on the board. I'll put it with that unit there. So we look at the refresh, nothing, command, nothing, no missiles to reload, no HE to bring in. Okay. Biggest threat here. This infantry. I think we'll fire this Marder at that lead infantry unit there. So is 5 hex range, so that would be using extended range, long range, whatever one this uses, but it's the same thing. So that'll be 2 dice at 6. No effect. I will keep the powder dry on these guys so they can have a chance to react to whatever starts to get flung at them. Okay, next card. The Germans again. All right. Refresh that, remove that. Nothing else to, no Mr. Storyload. Okay, I'm going to move this Marder now into the hex there. This will give them opportunity fire possibilities, will it? Is there any BMPs which aren't disrupted? No. Am I going anywhere within close range? No, but extended range, yes. So these infantry could ops fire. Okay, so out to 4 hex, 1, 2, 3, 4. I could go the long way around, which I'll try. 1, out of range. 2, out of range. 3, out of range. 4, now out of line of sight. And then 5 into there and marking ops complete. Now they could defensive fire there, so I draw a card and see if that range there is a fire command. At long range, it's card 45, and it's completely blank at that point. So no opportunity fire there then. So this gets marked ops complete. That just leaves the infantry there. And the HQ. All fresh. Okay. Next card is the Soviets. Right. Refresh. Nothing to refresh. We then have command status. Bring on their commander. I think probably go here to try and recover maximum amount of disrupted units. So they're all in command. Missile, no missiles to reload. Disruption removal. Okay. So the hex with the HQ. The BMP on its own is a 7 with 8 modified with HQ. Yes, the BMP with the infantry. Yes, they both everything recovers in this hex. Okay, looks like we're going to face a final big push by the Soviets. Delete. Okay. This infantry here needs a 6. No, it stays disrupted, but he's occupying victory location, so they're happy. And that's that. Actions. Okay. I'm going to draw a card, but this is the last turn. So they're going to fling whatever they can to get into that hex. Is it, if I draw a card and it says, move towards cover or go towards out line of sight, that's not them trying to achieve their objective. I mean, for example, some infantry that rate, this unit can't get there. This one can. He can get these can and then dismount the infantry. This one can't. So is there any point drawing a card? I mean, the minefield's might stop some of them anyway. So you know what? I'm not going to draw a card. Because again, firing on there is not going to do anything. They've got to get in and get down and dirty. Because they haven't got anything infantry fire-wise to hurt my infantry. Losing turn 7 was bad for the Soviets. So, don't need to be moved, Phil. So 1. Two. Okay. Well, the martyr can't do anything. The infantry could fire and will fire. So it'll be 2 dice at 5. It's using the HE equivalency. Because it's point blank, because they're one hex away, it's 2 dice at 4. The HQ gives them 3 dice at 4. Oh, that's 3 hits. Okay, it does mean I'm all ops complete. It's 3 hits. that infantry is inconsiderate. Well, in this cultivate, it does give him 1 at 5 save, but no, he's gone. He's deleted. Okay. All right. Well, this is it. This is the big one. Ideally, trying to get the infantry out. No response that I can do. The minefield, right? There's 2 BMPs. The first one, which hasn't got any infantry, makes it. The other one with the infantry does not. It takes a hit. Okay. It takes 1 hit. There's no saves from mines. So it's disrupted. The infantry with it. And that was what they needed, was the infantry want to get through. But they still got the HQ. All right, okay. They could win the close combat, so they got through. 2, 3, 3, and in they go. 4. Okay. So in this combat, they've got the Marder, which is 2 dice at 4. So this is me, 2 dice at 4. The infantry at 2 dice at 4, becoming, well, it's a city hex. Oh dear. Well, I'll start again. So it's 2 dice at 4 from the infantry, which becomes 2 dice at 3, because it's armor on its own. And then because it's city hex, it's 3 dice at 3. And the HQ, 4 dice at 3 from me. 1 hit. Okay. Then the Marder is rolling 2 dice at 4. Still only 1 hit at the moment. 2 hits on the Soviets. Okay, so it's rolling 2 dice at 5. Okay, that's 2 hits a pop. Right, the 2 hits on the Soviets will eliminate. If they'd only taken 1, they'd have won that close combat and won the hex. So it's likely that I was going to win. I rolled quite a lot of dice. So he is deleted. Okay, let's do it properly. Place a rec. And then remove. HQ is again removed to the holding box, because every unit it's with is gone. Okay, he's removed. However, we took 2 hits, so we will take one of the. There's 2 units. There's 1 on each. Use. I think the only way is no, it's not disrupted. Disrupted. If there was 3 hits, then I'd randomly determine which one took the 3rd hit, and so forth. So that was close. If they'd done 1 more hit, which they could have done, but if they'd had extra steps and such forth, in a close combat situation, if the hits are equal, without eliminating either side, the attacker still goes out, the defender holds the hex. If they'd done 1 more hit, then they would have forced me out of the hex and they would have won the scenario. It came that close. These 2 infantry here are out of range. 1, 2, 3, they can't get there. 1, 2, 3, they can't get there, which effectively ends the scenario. So it went down effectively to the wire. If this unit had got through the minefield, instead of disrupting, then they would have been coming in with considerably more force, because the infantry, the one vehicle could have stopped there and unloaded the infantry into, because it was only moving 1, 2, 3 infantry in with the HQ and another one of these. So that infantry, they would have been rolling 2 at 4, 3, considerably more dice. And considering how close the dice rolls went, they could have won the scenario. So, but a victory for the West Germans. Now, that was with me tinkering with the forces. Okay, I removed a minefield placement and removed the electronic warfare from the scenario. And as you can see, it allowed the Soviets to remain focused, stay together, command control, gave them a lot better chance than when I was using the Soviets under the effects of electronic warfare. I mean, I didn't progress anywhere near beyond this hill. I was playing the Soviets. Go back and watch the videos if you wish. They are there. They are all up there. So yes, I think what the tinkering I did, if I replayed this scenario with a live opponent, I would suggest that the tinkering, I'd be prepared to play either side with those adjustments. If the Soviets came this way round, taking this objective first and this way, that could create an interesting battle. It's a lot more open ground, and that leopard in that position here, he's got quite a field of fire. So yeah, leopard 2 vulnerable to the HE. Is there anything else? The anti-tank guided weapons of the Soviets would have to get lucky. Someone made a comment. They got that you know, there's a couple of salvos of those guys going in. Yes, but you know, the cover plus its reactive armor, it's the anti-tank guided weapons are going to still struggle to get through the leopard. Close assaulting with the infantry, well, that's what I've tried, but that's when the AI with the Germans moved the leopard into knife fighting range. So yeah, so infantry could take it out. HE though is probably the most effective, and that's what did take it out this time. Anyway, the next scenario I intend to do in the system will be bringing up the book here. I think it's scenario 15. Out of the Mist. Yes, Out of the Mist. It's one of a sequence of scenarios 15, 17, and 18 using the same order of battles for the East Germans on the offensive. It's their third course. So I might actually play those 3 scenarios in sequence as shown on the map here. But I don't know which side I'm going to be playing. Again, I'm going to do like I did with the first time I played this scenario. I'm going to set up as best a setup for the NATO as possible, and then determine by die roll which side I'm going to play. I did make a teaser at the beginning or the end of the last video saying that I'm going to create 2 house rules. The first one, well, the reason why house rules, okay, I don't normally do many, but at the end of the day, this is a game that I've purchased. I can modify it any way I want to. What's in the package from Lock and Load? There's a lot there. It's, as far as I'm concerned, probably one of the best Kickstarters I've ever done. In fact, the best Kickstarter I've ever done. Very worthwhile value for money. I feel, oh, excuse me. I feel some of the scenarios needed a bit more playtesting. And I'm going to pause to cough. Yeah, some of the scenarios need probably a bit more playtesting. Balance, but that's by and by. So these scenarios could be tweaked anyway. Again, it's my box now. I can do what really I want with it. However, the 2 little house rules I'm going to bring in, and the first one is my main bugbear with the system, and it's this Soviet or Warsaw Pact morale being usually 1 less than NATO. Now, I understand, you know, the design intent, but that difference between a 6 and a 7 morale is heavy. It's a 42% chance of passing a 6 morale check. So 56% chance of passing a 7, because 7 is the most common number when you're rolling 2d6. So adding that 7 on there for the NATO and not for the Soviets is a heavy hindrance for the Soviets, because it affects everything. Command control, coverage from EW, disruption. Yeah, it's a heavy penalty. So I thought, well, why not give the Soviets a 7 morale and NATO 8? Okay, still give them that edge, because the difference between a 7 and 8 is not as much as the difference between 6 and 7. So that was the first thought. How do I change that? What I'm going to do is have the Soviets on +1 morale on whatever's on their card. So in most cases, that 6 goes up to a 7. Okay. But when the HQ gets reduced, take it down to whatever is on the card. So that, to me, gives them an initial edge, and they're matching the Soviets, but matching NATO. But as soon as they take a hit at confidence, whatever having the lower morale in the initial design intent was, I having them at 6, comes into effect. So the HQ gets reduced from a 2 to a 1 for any reason, then the card reverts back to 6 morale rather than 7, which I'll be giving them. Some of the Warsaw Pact allies have 5 morales on their card. That's atrocious. Again, I would probably have those at 7. Take the first loss, go back to 6. If I do encounter any of those low ones, I'll have a think about that. And that will also balance out the discrepancy in my mind of the cost of these HQs in the design your own side. The HQ for a 7 morale costs 50 points, and a HQ with 6 morale costs 45. 5 points difference for that massive, in my mind, swing in 6 or 7 morale check. And even a 5 morale HQ costs 40 points. There's only 10 difference, and that's 2 swings. That is a horrendous point. I don't know where they got that point values from. So yeah, that's why I'm thinking, okay, keep them at that point value, give them the edge, as in have a morale of 7, but as soon as they take that loss, drop down to whatever's on the card. That shows the hits on their confidence, and their lesser training. Maybe when a HQ gets hit, the more elite officers or the more smarter officers are taken out, possibly. But that's the first little. In my mind, it's a little. I don't know until I actually start playing it. That's the other thing about house rule and how it affects everything. Until you start playing, you don't know. So again, I'll be using that in my next scenario. The other one is electronic warfare. Okay, in a 1 formation game like we had here, when it was in the previous attempt at this scenario, it completely hampered the Soviets. I even played 2 turns with giving the Soviets the edge in the electronic warfare. And still, when they were unlucky on a 1 or a 2, they got hit by electronic warfare, and then recovering, getting rid of it, the 2 just didn't happen. And I thought, no, I'm restarting this scenario, removing electronic warfare completely. However, I do like electronic warfare rules, the way it affects and such forth. So I want to bring it into the game, but I don't want it to dominate the game. So first thought, again, was bring it into scenarios which have more than 3 formations per side, possibly. And then just let it flow, let it run. But I thought that still, to me, makes it too predominant. So I thought, well, there's a couple of times I've been rolling on the battlefield events and battlefield friction table where there's been no event. Either it comes in too early and it says remove ops complete markers and such forth, and there are none on the board, so therefore it's no event. So I thought, well, why not have the possibility of electronic warfare coming in whenever a role on the event table comes up with no event. And I've decided that's what I'm going to try. So any scenario which has more than one formation per side, so it must have at least 2 formations per side, I will be bringing in electronic warfare as a random event. If on the random event table nothing happens, then I will roll again, and if it's a roll of 7, one of the nations will be affected by electronic warfare, then work out which nation it is, 1, 2, 3, NATO, 4, 5, 6, Soviets. So that means that you get to place it. So if the Soviets get to place it, they'll place it on, again, an enemy HQ, and 1, 2, 3, NATO will get to place it on HQ. So if no event occurs on the random events table, roll again. If it's a 2d6, if it's a, so because on the random events table, you're rolling a roll of a 7 anyway turns it over to the friction. So there's 2 sides on the random events. So there's a random events and random friction. If either of those result in nothing, no matter whatever reason, like there's an event that has no effect, I will then roll, if it's a 7 on 2d6, electronic warfare comes in, and I'll determine which faction gets it. So therefore, the rules are there. I do like the effect of electronic warfare. I just didn't want it to dominate the game. So I thought I'll give that a try, and I'll give you my impressions afterwards. So that concludes this scenario. Overall, I like the scenario itself. I think with the little tweaks I put into it, yes. Without little tweaks, I think I definitely wouldn't want to play the Soviets. They don't have enough to take that objective, in my mind. I would probably get lots of players saying, "No, I played as the Soviets. It was a whitewash. I stormed over there. Western Allies didn't have enough. NATO didn't have enough forces. Fair enough. Well done. Maybe I'm just not that skilled a Soviet player as yet, or Warsaw Pact player, but purely from the numbers, which I brought up in the previous time I played, I showed the numbers on it. It's a hard sell for the Soviets. They are actually assaulting with less points, using the point system as prescribed, less points than the Western Germans have in defense. And we all know the ratio. It should be, the attacking force should have more. In pure numbers, they do. They have 6 BMPs with 6 infantry. That is 12 units and 2 T-62s. That's 14 units taking on 2 German infantry platoons. That's 2 Marders. That's 4, taking on 5. So 14 to 5. That's nearly a 3-to-1 ratio in troops. But then you look at the qualities, and then you look at the extra assets. Those minefields are only 150 points a pop, and yes, I can now see maybe why they are, because they're a constant effect. They took out quite a few of the Soviets that are trying to go through. In actual fact, that one in that location, they won the scenario for me, because if that wasn't there, the Soviets would probably have got through with quite a lot more. So, yeah. Anyway, I've enjoyed the playthrough, hence why I'm now moving on to the next one, which is another scenario. I've reread all the rules. I would like to thank the designers, Keith Tracton in particular. He was the lead designer on this. Excellent game. Love it. Lock and Load. Thank you for a marvelous Kickstarter. Looking forward to the next one. I was a bit dubious after my initial plays of the system, but now the more I'm playing it, the more I'm enjoying it. Solo assistant, yeah, it's an assistant. It's not a system. It's an assistant. And the more you treat it as such, the better it plays. So yeah, getting my head around it. Probably still got a bit of learning curve. Judgment calls you definitely have to make as a player, but they are relevant. As that last judgment call, I didn't even draw a card from on that last turn because they have one objective and they need to get it on that turn. Having no turn 7 definitely helped me. So I only had 2 units. That definitely helped me. But that's what can happen. I've played some scenarios of Nations at War where all I've got to do is advance 1 unit into a building to take it and win the scenario. And there's 2 ops complete markers coming out before I get to move. And there's been no enemy in the way. But that's, the nature of the game. You know the 2 ops complete markers are in there. They can come out. It's frustrating. You can sit there and snarl, but that's the nature. And it does create interesting, tense moments in the game that if you didn't have them in there, you wouldn't have. So in the end, yes, love them. Thank you again for watching. Before I think of anything else I want to say, thank you again for watching. Please like or dislike. Tell me why, either way, in the comments section. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Click the bell for when I do my next scenario. I don't know when it will be. Hopefully it'll be sometime this week. All the best. Good luck. Stay safe.